How to have an awesome life story. So imagine this. You are at a courtroom for things that you've done. And you come into the courtroom, you're sitting there, the judge is in front of you, the jury are on actually both sides. The spectators are the people who are there to support you, the people who are not necessarily there to support you. All those folks are in the seats behind you. And the judge is giving you a life sentence. Here's the twist. The judge can give you not just a life sentence that could be to your negative or to your detriment, as a punishment, such as life in prison, but the judge can also give you a life sentence that is positive, life in paradise. And it seems at this point like the roll of the dice as to what sentence you will receive. Now, I think when we're trying to achieve an awesome life story, like an awesome story in our lives, we want those two things to come together. It's important to understand something about life stories and something that goes before it. Something that happens in a life story is that you need both, right? Because the thing about a story is that if a story doesn't have life in it, it doesn't have your life in it, then your life story isn't gonna matter because you're not living your life in the story. The other way around is that if your life lacks story, it doesn't make sense, right? Stories have the ability to give our lives structure and sense and sensibility. And it is through that structure that we can come to understand what things mean. That we can stories allow life to make sense. So you need both of those things. Now, back up. Because before we even get to those two things, it's like, imagine if you started writing a book, or you wanted to write a book, but you never wrote your first sentence. You never put a sentence in the book. The book ain't gonna get done. Like you're not going to be able to complete that book because, your life story doesn't have a life sentence. And so this part of the journey, this moment where you're sitting in this courtroom with the jury and the supporters and the dissenters, and the judge is sitting there giving you a sentence. It's a very important part of the life sentence. And it leads us to the question of how, before we even get to the point of how do we have an awesome life story, of how do we put down an awesome life sentence? And in that process of putting down a life sentence, one has to ask, how do you sentence yourself? How do you sentence yourself? Right? How do you sentence yourself? How do you judge yourself? How do you narrate yourself? We talked about this in Wordplay Wisdom episode 1, about how you narrate yourself, how you rate yourself. Now we are at a point where that rating is being carried out through a particular sentence, through this sentence, this point in your life, this period of your life. So you're there and you're about to be judged. Well, the judge turns to you and asks you, would you like to say any last words, any final thoughts or anything you want to say before this judgment gets laid out? This is an interesting point, because essentially he's giving you a period. He's giving you a period. He's giving you a chance of where you want to where you want to place a dot on this sentence. He's giving you a period to determine where this sentence gets stopped, and to determine what this sentence is going to speak to, what this period will be of. Will it be a period of wonder? Will it be a period of wariness. It will be a period of all these things are possible within this period that you're now being given to offer some final thoughts for this sentence. And so when you think about how you would sentence your life, right, and what you're sentencing your life to, this is what you have to do. You have to period your life. You have to period your life. You have to place a period in your life. And without that, the sentence is incomplete. And so this is the real part of the equation. And I'll give you the end right now, which is that what you say here at this part of the of this sentence, at this part of the trial, what you say here will be what appears as what in terms of what you get sentenced with. In terms of what your sentence ends up being. What you say here. And in this trial, and in your trials that you are going through right now, the trial that you are currently undergoing, whatever that trial may be, whatever that test may be, whatever may be raining on you, your perspective on it, the way you see it, will determine the way it turns out. The way you see it will determine the way it turns out. So, if you see it, if you see the rains that are coming down on you as something to dance to, if you take a tribal approach to those rains and you are thankful and have a spirit of gratitude for what is raining down, whatever that is, you will find that the sentences will start playing emphasis and will start placing emphasis on the things that you should be grateful for. So if you have the perspective of gratitude, if the metaphor allows you to have a sense of gratitude, you're picking metaphors that allow you to connect gratitude, the sentence will place emphasis on things to be grateful and to have gratitude for. If you have a perspective that is the opposite, right? And if your perspective is that this trial is hurting you, that this trial is punishment, that this trial is a pain in your ass, like, what's gonna happen, and is that the sentence will place emphasis on all the things that are a pain, all the things that are problems, all the things that are negative. So, this life sentence is very important. Authors struggle to write books because they struggle to place the first sentence on the page. Because of fear, there's all this fears, there's all this anxiety, there's all these things this analysis paralysis, so all these things that stop you from writing, putting the first set of words down, of setting your words down to paper, of making them seen, of making this world that you have within you be seen, showing it. So it becomes really important, your perspective. It becomes really important, the thoughts that you give in the periods of your life. And in this period of your life right now, this trial, what will your life sentence be? What will you sentence your life to? What period will this sentence into? Will your life sentence into? The judge doesn't actually matter. What you say in the moment that the judge asks you for your final words, that first sentence, that will set everything else up. It doesn't matter how good the actors are if the script sucks. It doesn't matter how great the script could be if the sentence never shows up on the page. There's not a sentence for the script or of the script. So how we describe ourselves, how we scribe ourselves, how we sentence ourselves, and what we sentence ourselves to, it depends on what you do, on the perspective that accrues in this period of your life, in this trial of your life. So before you even get to the story, the great play, the grand book, the amazing movie, before you get to the life story, start with your life sentence. And if you do, you will find a golden period in your life. You will find this moment to be a period of wondrous possibilities. So, this is what I sentence you to do. So, anything you'd like to say, anything you'd like to do before your sentence is lived.